What's going on, y'all? How's you guys' day going? My day's okay. Hope you're having a good day. Hope you're having a good week. Want to come on here, talk about some more things. Today's topic is going to be about freedom. I feel as though that we take an extremely fixed lens of how we view freedom in the most general sense. Right? This video is not going to be too specific, where I talk about one thing as per usual, right? And so I feel that we plateaued as a society, as a civilization. And of course, from my perspective, this is living in the US, and so I may not have as many experiences or opportunities to really see humanity. And I know that. I try to remind myself of that I have a very limited understanding when it comes to my experiences. But for the most part, at least in the US, I would say that we cannot seem to mature. There really is it's cut and dry. There really is no other way to put it. Right? We have all the technology, we have all of the knowledge, not all, but we have I would rather say we have a lot of information, not knowledge. And it's very interesting because there's only so much information that we can take in, right? You can only take in 11, either I want to say million or billion. Can't remember which. You'd have to look it up. But I know that you can only take in 11 million or billion units of information. And obviously, that's a lot, right? That's a crap ton. Yet, look where we are, with so much bombardment and so much in-your-face overstimulation, and how ironic using that word, overstimulation, or overwhelmingness. But we have so much. And so, anyways, we've amassed so much, yet it's in quantity, not quality. And today's topic is a very, very big reason for that. We have had so much privilege over the last 100 years, right? Like, I'd say about 130, maybe 150 years, we have amassed, as a civilization, by the way, this isn't one particular group of people, everyone, because everyone is responsible, which I'll get into later. We have amassed such a level of privilege that we have completely forgotten that there is a cost. There is a cost. There are many costs. Many costs to having such freedom. And again, this isn't specific. So if you're thinking about something particular, very particular, I want you to think about that. I want you to think about how interesting it is that the first thing that popped in your mind was that, right? And I'm not gonna say what, but whatever, because whatever it is that popped in your head, that's very telling. I'll say that much. And so, anyways, we cannot continue to approach freedom from the perspective that it is always in our favor. Because it's not. It's quite the opposite, actually. You see, freedom has been manipulated in such a manner that most average people don't take the time to weigh their choices, right? Because choices are a direct correlation with freedom. And just to be a little bit more specific, I suppose, when I say freedom, I suppose I mean not only having the ability to choose at a whim, but being able to do so with such, I don't want to say carelessness, but such, I guess, like from a very lackadaisical position, right? We don't have to, not that we don't, but we don't have to take an extremely nuanced and serious approach to the freedoms we have and to the choices that we have. And so when we make these choices, whatever it might be, we do so carelessly, impulsively. And so, like, I'll name some examples just to make it a little bit easier, right? Like, you have the obvious ones. You have the very extremely obvious ones, meaning, politics, right? Of course, that's the most obvious one. Being able to, well, not really, but being able to buy houses wherever you want and such, et cetera, et cetera. Essentially being governed, right? You have the freedom to be governed. But with that comes the cost of unpreparedness, at least for us, right? Not for everybody, because there are those of us who are very prepared despite being cared for and governed for, right? I'm using the word for. They do the things for us. And so what that entails is I guess you could say, lack of not only preparedness, but just aware of our situation, aware of our environment. And so I guess an example would be, let's say you buy a house, right? You buy a house, you have electricity, you have water, you have all of the technology that you need, yet that comes from a different company, different people, from everything else except for you. And this isn't going to be, a video where I'm saying like, oh, well, if you want things, then go make a TV yourself. Oh, well, if you want clothes, go, learn how to knit. Like, I obviously think you should do those things just because, but that's not the point, right? That's not why I'm bringing this up. I bring this up because when these things happen, right? When we have such freedom that we allow, oh, I'm just going to call somebody and they're going to do it for me. Oh, I'm just going to have, instead of going and moving my own fridge, I'm going to have, these, labormen come and do it for me. And, I'm going to pay them a ridiculous price when it's not that hard to do it myself, right? Like, you have the freedom to do that. But that comes at the cost that if push comes to shove and you don't know what you're doing, oh, well, that's that, right? And so, again, those are the obvious ones. Those are the ones that everybody already understands. What I want to focus on, and what I want to get more finite, is the very subtle, differences between having the freedom to choose and knowing the cost. Because there's two sides of the coin. You have the freedom to choose, but you have to have the awareness of the cost that comes with that. And so, a prime example is how truly manipulative we have become with our relationships. And it doesn't have to be romantic. It could be platonic, right? We have amassed such a level of comfort that there is a very real possibility that majority of the people that are together are doing so for themselves. And, that sounds very obvious. That sounds very surface level. Like, well, of course people do things for themselves. Why else would they? Right? But that's the problem. The fact that that's so normalized. The fact that it's just so easy to come to that conclusion. Oh, well, of course I do that for myself. Right? And so with that comes, I want to say like a subconscious. I think so. I personally think it's subconscious. I feel as though that people approach relationships from this subconscious selfishness, and because they're both unaware, right? So the person doing the thing and the person on the other end of the foot, they are both unaware of the selfishness that's being taken place. And you want to know what makes it even funnier? Is that 9 times out of 10, both people are being selfish. And that's exactly why they're around each other. All right, look, let's use an example, or an analogy rather. Let's say that, a man and a woman are dating, right? Person A, right, regardless of gender, it doesn't matter who, starts it, I suppose. Whoever begins to be selfish, like let's say that, I guess just for conversation's sake, we'll say that, the man. Let's say the man understands that the woman depends on him, right? In a very crucial way, whether it be financial, emotionally, whatever, right? Everything. You could pick any of those and it'll still have the same effect. Now let's say, so he's aware of this fact, even subconsciously. He's aware of the fact that this person depends on him so vehemently. And yet he uses that not necessarily to gain something, but to control them. You see, there's a difference. There's a very big difference. And there is also the equal chance that the woman might be unaware or even aware and still let that happen. And there's multiple reasons for this. So, a very unnoticed reasoning would be that the woman herself is also selfish. And so she doesn't mind the fact that he is that way, that he gets to control her, because she knows that at some other point in time, she's going to be allowed to do something, whatever it might be. It could be anything. She's going to be allowed, I should say, with quotations, she's going to be allowed to be selfish, and she knows that he will do nothing. He will do nothing to stop her. Like, obviously, he might nag, or he might, say something about it, but at the end of the day, he's not going to leave, right? And so people have come to this mutual understanding, despite having the freedom, right? Because that's what this video is about. Despite having the freedom to choose whoever it is you want to be with and how you want to be with that person and the way in which you want to do things, people don't want to. They don't want to. And the reason why is that people want freedom not to control, but for relief. They want to be relieved of the responsibility that comes with being free, right? Just like how I used the example of, buying stuff, buying your house, buying your furniture. You're relieved of the responsibility, but that comes at a cost. It's the exact same thing with our social situations. You have the freedom to choose whoever you want, again, whether it be friend, a romantic partner, even family, right? You have the choice to be around these people, and why we choose to be around those people is absurd. I'll say, there's probably a better word, but absurd, truly absurd. And so it has gotten to the point where we use our freedom not to gain, right? Not to strive, not to push forward, not to mature, not to find other avenues, but to be comfortable. And that's not what freedom is. It's not, right? It's very easy, again, because this is coming from an extremely privileged point of view, right? Even myself, right? I'm not going to discount myself, right? I do that. I do that too. And that is the most important aspect, is being aware of the fact that we do that, right? Because I know that I mentioned this in a lot of my videos, but I feel like it's very important that I do, because this is not bashing. This is not judging. This is awareness, coming to an awareness as a group, as a people, and knowing what to do to move on. Being able to see these things is the most important part before we even decide to look for a solution. And so anyways, this perspective of freedom comes from the fact that, we have an extremely, what should I say? I want to choose my words very carefully. We have an extremely, I guess you could say fixed. We'll just, for the sake of conversation, we'll just say that. You have an extremely fixed idea of democracy, right? In America, at least. We have an extremely fixed idea of what we believe to be democracy. And yet, we suffer. And it's inevitable, yes. However, think about it like this. If a authority figure takes away your freedom, they become a tyrant. But if they give you freedom, you become the tyrant. You see, because people don't have to be forced. They really don't, right? It might be easier to force people to do things, but they don't need to be. There really is no need. So long as you're patient enough, people will destroy themselves. It's human nature. People will destroy themselves, and you can, sorry, my eyes are really itchy. You can take one look into modern day America and see that in every single aspect, from the jobs we choose and how limited our jobs are, right? Or the relationships we choose, who we choose to be around, what we choose to engage with. And you have to understand that these are not things that have to be from something. These are things that exist within you and me and everybody else. The things that you're choosing to, I guess you could say, engage with, the things that we choose to engage with do not have to be other avenues. They don't have to be other things. And so it makes me upset when people speak from this connotation or perspective that there's nothing that they can do, right? Like, oh, well, or like better yet, it would sound like this. It would sound like, oh, well, I wish there was more movies about this. Oh, well, I wish there was, people like this, or I wish I could meet someone like this, right? And don't get me wrong, that's a very fair way to feel. That's a very fair criticism to have. But on the same token, you have to be encompassing of that same aspect in order to engage with it. And I feel like that is the reason why people struggle so much, is that they don't want to change, right? Just like the relationship analogy I gave. People don't want to change. Why would they? If they know that they can engage with something that is just going to benefit them, even if it be I don't want to say immoral, but like they want to benefit from things that are not necessarily good, we'll just say, right? Just for simplicity's sake, we'll say that, people don't mind engaging with things knowing that that thing is wrong, or that there is a very clear, more morally, I guess you could say, superior way of going about that, right? Like, again, with the relationship example, those two people could easily come together and talk, and just talk, right? And hash things out. But they don't want to be alone, right? And that's hard. They say things, people talk nowadays. It's too hard. It's too hard to find quote, fill in the blank, basically, right? You could say just about anything. Oh, it's too hard to blank, to find blank, to do blank, 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 And 9 times out of 10, it's because they themselves are not encompassing of that attribute or aspect or virtue that they seek, because they don't want the responsibility. They don't want to have to be the person to enact those aspects in their life, because we're so used to everything being handed on us. Here you go, right? Like, think of school. There is nothing about school that promotes self. Just from even, you could boil it down to just the way the schedule works, right? Like there are many videos you can find where people have spoken about this, so it's nothing new, but it's extremely telling how we've chosen to, I guess you could say, fall in line with it, though. That's the worst part. I'm not so upset that school is the way it is. I'm more upset that people choose to engage with school in that manner. And yes, I know, I hear you. There are not very many other ways to go about it. However, we have to try, right? We have to try. We have to do something, right? It's one thing to see a problem and do something about it, right? It's kind of like, if you've ever heard, I don't know if it's a phrase or a quote, but it goes, it's not your fault, but it is your responsibility, right? Like the same way that the fact that we're alive, it's not your fault that you're alive, right? I don't even want to say fault, because life is a beautiful thing. And so it's not your fault that you're alive, but it is your responsibility. You do have to take care of yourself just by proxy of being alive. So this video is already 20 minutes. I could go on and on and on and on, but I think I made my point. I hope so. I hope I made my point. Being free, the truest form of freedom is being free from yourself. Is not being chained down by your humanity, by your nature, right? By not allowing yourself to engage in, I don't even know what to call it. I can't think of a word that would describe such just nature. Yeah, just really human nature. When you boil it down, right? And again, it's not our fault. It's not our fault that we are this way. But it is our responsibility to do something about it. And it starts with us. But it's hard. It's very hard, and it's not easy. But if you seek, you will find. You will find people. You will find art. You will find things of any kind that will reciprocate. It will be like a mirror. And I hope that I've been a part of that. I hope that there's someone out there that I have expressed the same feelings, because I feel this way about a lot of things, right? Like there's nothing out there, right? Like, oh, well, what am I supposed to do? You know, like, oh, like for example, I can't stand the way movies are, you know? Like I haven't been to the movies consistently in years. I used to go to the movies like once a month, if not twice sometimes, right? But nowadays there's like, oh, you know, nothing's good, nothing's entertaining, everything's so mediocre. But if I really wanted to, I could go look for a movie, right? But I'm lazy. So anyways, hope you enjoyed the video. If you think similarly, or if you disagree, let me know what you think down below. I hope you have a good rest of your day. Thank you for watching.